Black demographics, black male statistics, population. According to official 2018 estimates from the U.S. Census Bureau, the black male population in the United States was 21 million in 2018. This is 48% of the total black population compared to black females who make up 52% of the black population. Population at a glance. If you look at it, population black males versus all males. There's 21 million black males. There's 161 um, million all males. Median age of black males 32.5. All males 36.9. Compared to all males in America, black males are on average younger at 33 years old compared to the age of all males, 37 years old. However, when looking at the breakdown of age, black male children under 18 years old are at the same percentage as all male children, 51%. The percent of population who are males declines much quicker for black males as they get older due to a higher mortality rate than males on average. See table on the left. This considering that male men of all races and ethnicities have a shorter lifespan than women. Educational attainment. Black men attended college 50%, all men 65%. This is ages 25 and under. Bachelor's degree are higher and higher, only 19% compared to all men at 32%. Less than a high school diploma, 15% compared to all men at 12%. By 2018, about 50% of black men 25 and older had been to college, although just over half, 54% of them actually completed a degree compared to 60% of all men who attended college, two-thirds of which 66% have completed a degree. So here we got educational attainment 25 and up. Black men, less than high school diploma 15%, all men 12%. High school graduate includes equivalency 35% for black men, 28% for all men. Some college, no degree 23% for black men, 20% for all men. Associate's degree 7% for black men, 8% for all men. Bachelor's degree 12% for black men, 20% for all men. Graduate or professional degree 7% for black men, 12% for all men. Blah, blah, blah. The biggest disparity between black men and all men in America is with those who have a bachelor's degree. Only 19% of black men have a bachelor's degree compared to 32% of all men. Second in the number of black men who finished high school but did not pursue higher education, 35% compared to 28% of all men. Employment. African American males aged 16 to 64 had a lower participation rate in the labor force, 69% compared to all males, 79%. Labor force participation refers to the percent of men who were either working or looking for work. Males not in labor force include those who may be full-time students, disabled, and others who are not looking or gave up looking for employment for other reasons. The 37% of African American males who worked full time all year in 2018 had a median earnings of $30,928 compared to $41,119 for all men. It's a whole $11,000 more, $10,000 more. Of black men ages 16 to 64 years old, 41% had no earnings in 2018, which was higher than the 30% of all men with no earnings in the same age group. Compared to all men in the United States, black men who worked were much less likely to work in occupations that may be considered white collar and were much more likely to hold blue collar or service jobs. Only 41% of working black men held so called white collar jobs compared to 50% of all men. For the purpose of the above table, white collar occupations include but are not limited to jobs in management, business, computers, office, legal, education, etc. Occupation type black man, 16 and older, white collar, 41% to all men, 50%. Blue collar, 36% compared to all men, 35%. Service occupations, 23% compared to all men, 15%. Cities where black men with jobs outnumber black women. Nationwide, there are 93 black men with full time jobs for every 100 black women with full time jobs, but that number can vary greatly depending on the location. So you have a location here. Relationships. Black men, ages 15 and older. Black men divorced, 10%. All men, 10%. Widowed, 3%. 3% on both sides. Separated, 3%. 3%. Currently married, 33% compared to all men's, 49%. Never married, 52% compared to all men, 37%. The percentage of black men who are married and who have never been married are almost the exact opposite of those percentages for all men in America. Although 50%, 52% of black men have never been married, 49% of all men are currently married. Only 33% of black men are currently married, while only 37% of all men in America have never been married. Black men are also slightly more likely to be separated from their spouses, 3%, compared to all men at 3%. In addition, black men are just as likely to be widowed, 3% compared to all men. Oh, let's see. Black marriage in 2017, who black men married. So if you see the blue, 85% have a black wife. The white spouse is the green, 9%. Hispanic spouse, only 3%, and other 3%. Who black women married. 93% have married black husband. 4% married white spouse. 2% Hispanic, 1%. So if you see black men going after more white women than black men, or than black women going after white men, and I think that's also something that we can talk about. Black men are more likely to be married than black women. As a matter of fact, in 2017, there were about 479,617 more black men who were married than black women, even though black women were 51% of the black population. Although the vast majority of black men, 85%, were married to black women, an even larger percent, 93%, of black women are married to black men. Wow. Black men more likely to be married than white men until 1960. Oh, wow. The war on drugs and its effect on black marriage in the 1980s and 90s. That's powerful right there. I gotta download that. Sorry about that, guys. For those watching this. The above chart illustrates how closely the marriage graph for black men aligns with the incarceration numbers, which also experience an abnormal climb beginning in 1980s. This does not prove causation, however, it shows that they are related due to the assumption that black men or that men in prison are less likely to marry. Other characteristics. In 2013, about 6% of working age 18 to 64-year-old black men were in state or federal prisons or in municipal jail. This was 3 times higher than the 2% of all men in the same age group. What's even more concerning is the approximately 34% of all working age black men who were not incarcerated were ex offenders, compared to 12% of all men, which means they have at one point in their lives been convicted of a felony. This data coincides with the increased absence of black men in the labor force because ex offenders are prevented from obtaining a large percentage of occupations, either by law or often legally discriminated against by private employers. Yeah, that's where they get us right there. In 2013, 14% of the working age black men were veterans of the U.S. military, which was just slightly lower than all males veterans at 15%. A large percentage of working age black men were considered disabled, 16%, compared to all men at 11%. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen.